So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. I want to talk about a lot of different things in this particular video. Um, I'm not going to be on one particular topic. I am going to talk about a multitude of things. But I want to start it off with gratitude and just being thankful and grateful for the things I do have and the needs that are met. I want to give gratitude to the universe, to God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, for keeping me in balance despite different enemies' efforts throughout my life of trying to derail me off of my path, even people in my family for shaming me, attacking me, um, wrongfully persecuting me. And this has come from mainly the black community, some white people, but it's really not about race or color. It's just about the one greatest negative source in the universe that we call evil. And evil without any type of real direction, because I do believe in necessary evil. But when you are a bully and when you are a person who goes after innocent people for no reason, that's an evil. That's a different type of evil. I've had to contend with so much. And I'm looking around at the world and other people, and no matter what they have financially, no matter what they live in or live out of, I feel really blessed. So that is why I say gratitude for what I have and for having all of what I need. I may not have everything that I want, but that's okay because the universe that I come from will provide anything that I need and want. And that is what I carry with me. And human beings do not have the final say over your life. Human beings and their desires may be mighty, but the universe's design for your life is almighty. And no human being has the final say over you or your life's direction. And people need to understand that. Okay? But gratitude is what I wanted to start out with. I've been seeing a lot of different things that have really caused me to be a little bit disturbed. Not disturbed in the sense of totally devastatingly disturbed, but just a little disturbed. And here's why. And I've talked about this before, right? Why are so many adults all of a sudden so interested and invested in the well being of children? And I know what people are going to think. Well, Seer, that's not a bad thing. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Why all of a sudden is there this push and so much focus put on children? And the reason that I'm saying this, and let me say this as a major disclaimer, not saying that children should not be nurtured or protected. Absolutely not. Not saying that at all. But the politicians and the people that I see with these agendas that are supposed to be put in place to protect children A lot of this stuff is not effective and it's not working, right? And I find the timing of all of this very interesting. I saw a commercial recently where a woman said, I think she's running, well, I think she's voting for a particular candidate who's running for governor or senate or something like that, running for some type of public office. And she said that she wants a better world for her son. And that's all well, fine, and good. But why do you think that that man, whether he be black or white, it doesn't matter. Why do you think that that man, that politician, is going to make life for your son or your child in general? Why do you think that that man is going to make life for your child better? Most of these politicians don't even care about their own children, quiet as it's kept. So, why do people think that they care about theirs? A lot of these politicians, they sacrifice their own children. So, what makes you think they won't sacrifice yours, especially you being a black woman with children? Excuse me. What makes you think that that man cares about your children? And I don't care if your children are black or white or Asian or Spanish or Mexican. What makes you think that these people care? And what's really disturbing is that all of these bills and proposals and agendas that have been put forth out into the universe to so-called make life better for children, when you look around, children are more unsafe now than they have ever been. Right here in DC, most of the crimes that are being committed by people under the age of 16 years old, 16 and under, or maybe I should say 17 and under. But yet they say they're trying to save the children, right? But you weren't thinking about saving the children of the 1980s, which I fall into that category, and I'm not making this about me, but you weren't thinking about saving the children then. There were no agendas put forth before Congress then. There were no aggressive measures then to save children. So why now all of a sudden are they trying to so-called save children? Oh, that's right. You can't even say the word pedophile anymore on YouTube, or if you're a monetized YouTuber, you won't get paid. You see the things that we allow them to do? We can't call out pedophilia. We can't call out sexual abusers. We can't call out sexual assaulters and perverts anymore on YouTube because they will blacklist your channel. Well, I can say it because this channel is not monetized and nobody's trying to help me get it monetized. So I can say it. You can't say this anymore. You can't say that anymore. All in the name of trying to protect children. How are you trying to protect children when you can't even say and call out pedophilia? How are you trying to protect children when you release sex offenders, violent sex offenders who have been arrested and put into prison for a certain length of time? You don't even allow them to serve their time. You let them out on good behavior, violent sex offenders. But they're trying to protect the children, right? You weren't trying to protect the children when you allowed all of those children to go over to Jeffrey Epstein's island, allegedly, or not. You weren't trying to protect the children when Relisha Rudd a young black girl who went missing in 2013 at a homeless shelter. Her mother is irresponsible in this too, but I'm just saying they weren't trying to protect the children then because because the conversation is coming up again about Relisha Rudd because it's the 10th anniversary, I believe, of her disappearance. And the last time she was seen was walking with a janitor that worked at the shelter that she and her mother were staying in. My question is, where were the security guards at the shelter? Where is the staff at the shelter? Not a janitor, but the staff. Where were they? I know what people are going to say. Well, it's her mother's fault. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. But at the end of the day, when the mother could not be responsible, there should have been some responsible staff there to make sure she didn't go off with that janitor. But they say protect the children, right? They didn't protect Relisha Rudd. They didn't protect Kaylee Anthony. I believe that's the young child's name, whose mother, Casey Anthony, murdered her allegedly. They didn't protect her. They didn't protect Susan Smith's children. When that maniac rode off into the waters with her children, no, I'm sorry. She didn't ride off into the waters with her children. She left them in the car, and the car was on, and the car rode off into the waters purposely at her hands. But of course, you had men who wanted to date Casey Anthony because that's the perverted mind of man. They didn't protect that young girl. What's her name? Gypsy. Gypsy. What's her name? Let me look. What's her name? Let me look. Let me look. Let me look. What's her name? Because we're going to have a conversation about this. What's her name? Gypsy. Gypsy Rose Blanchard. They didn't protect Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who was being brutally abused by, I believe, her mother. Let me look it up. They didn't protect her, even though she got out of that alive. Let me see. For years, Gypsy's mother made her get unnecessary medical procedures. This woman tortured this young girl. And people have the unmitigated gall to talk about this woman, who she's now a woman, because I think she ultimately ended up killing her mother because the woman tortured her. But because we live in a sick, demented, overly religious cult society that believes parents do no wrong, even if they're torturing their children. And these are the same people talking about we have to save the children. Save them for what? For you to abuse them more? Because the real people that I know who were on here talking about protecting children, the real people that were doing that, they were getting cyber stalked. They were getting harassed. One in particular, and she knows who I'm talking about. They were getting attacked daily. And not just her or them. Now, all of a sudden, there's a push to save the children, But you did not listen to us when we were telling you this a long time ago. So now children are now subjected to all types of perversions online and offline. I know people don't like this type of teaching, right? They don't like this. You know, years ago when I used to babysit my niece and nephew, and I've told this story before, they didn't know anything about my sexual orientation. They just knew that I was their uncle that spoiled them, gave them ice cream and cookies and candy, and let them practically do what they wanted to do. You know, I spoiled them. I let them get on my computer. I monitored them. We played games, That's what an uncle is supposed to do with their niece and their nephew. That's what I did. They didn't know anything about their uncle's sexual orientation. I did not invite any guests over to my home while I watched them. When they went into the bathroom to wash up or do whatever they needed to do, the door was shut. I've never seen my niece and nephew's body parts. And I'm saying this because I want people to know the type of person that I am and to get an idea of what I'm trying to say. These weirdos that are talking about protecting the children, these are the same weirdos that exploit children. They had a movie about this too. They had a movie called Family of Sins, and Kirstie Alley played in it. Kirstie Alley was my mother freaking girl. I love me some Kirstie Alley. I'm so sorry that she died. Kirstie Alley was a good actress, and I really liked her. And when she played bad, she played bad. I mean, when she played a really mean character, she could really do it. She played the role of Brenda Geck, which was based on a real life person. And she took in a friend of hers and the friend's daughter. And everyone thought the Gecks were these upstanding citizens, but they were really predators. Brenda's husband was a rapist. Her son was a rapist. They were raping um, Brenda's friend Nadine, who had the daughter. They were raping the daughter as well. But these were people that the police department and society, they thought they were upstanding people, but they really weren't. They were predators of the highest degree. Fortunately, they got caught. But a lot of times, people like that don't get caught. Not only were they into abusing people, they were also into threatening people. They were involved in gang activity. They were involved in welfare scams, credit card scams, all types of things. You have to see the movie. It came out in 2004 called Family of Sins. And I've talked about this before, but I just feel like it needs to be reiterated sometimes. Because every time you turn on the TV, you see these fake, phony people talking about, we want a better world for the children. Well, if you want a better world for the children, right, why do you keep trying to intertwine children into adult shit? If you want a better world for the children, why do you have grown men coming into certain places where children are, where grown men shouldn't be? Let me just say it that way. I would never, as a gay man, want to go into a woman's bathroom, no matter how I'm dressed. I would never want to go into a woman's bathroom around little girls. If I want to go to the bathroom, I'm going to go to the man's bathroom, even if I was dressed in drag. And I don't give a fuck who gets offended by what the fuck I'm saying. I'm a different type of gay. And this ain't being discriminatory, but it's just if it's about the children, right? Parents should have the right to educate their children in any way they want to. I don't think it's right that they teach their children to hate people, to be racist or homophobic or nasty to people or hateful. Of course not. But if there are certain things that parents do not want their children exposed to, they have a right to say that. But then these very same people who say they want to protect the children, it's all about protecting the children, right? And making the world better for the children. But yet overseas, we see what's happening over there in Palestine. How is that making the world better for the children? We see two warring forces, Israel and Palestine. Children are dying over there. But you see these people always talking about not Israel and Palestine, but you always see people over here talking about making things better for the children. But children are suffering at a high rate more than ever. They say they want to make things better for the children. Why are so many immigrant children suffering? Why are so many children that are coming over here from their homelands where they are used to being, what they have become accustomed to, they're being forced out of their lands and being brought over here to America, being separated from their parents. But these people say that they want to make things better for the children. They say that they're coming over here for asylum because their countries are, war torn, or they're being ran by drug lords and things like that. But is that really the truth? Or is that just the belief? Or is that just what they want us to believe? They want to put everything on the drug lords and stuff like that. But in actuality, it's not the drug lords, it's the governments that are really pushing them out. It's the same thing that happened with the invasion of Panama back in the late 1980s. Honey, I was there. Now, I was not in Panama, of course, but I remember when that happened. And I felt so sorry for the people who had to endure that, because I had Panamanian neighbors. Because at that time, everybody got along at that time in the 80s. I had Hispanic neighbors, I had Mexican neighbors, I had Panamanian neighbors. Some of my best friends at that time were Hispanic, Mexican, now blacks and Hispanics all of a sudden. We've been living around each other all this fucking time. Now, all of a sudden, these new breed of people that are coming in, now all of a sudden, they don't like black people anymore, or black people don't like them. Since when? Black people and Hispanics have always gotten along for the most part. Panamanians, Chicanos, Puerto Ricans. Since when? I went to school with a rainbow of people. But ever since Donald Trump got into office, I'm going to say ever since Donald Trump got into office and started getting inside the minds of so many people, that's why people call him the Antichrist. Not because he's the Antichrist, but because he has Antichrist ways. But so does Biden. So does Oprah Winfrey. So does a lot of the other people that people put on pedestals. They have Antichrist energy as well, to separate people. Since when? Since when did blacks and Hispanics hate each other so much? Now all of a sudden. But we're talking about making the world a better place for the children, right? When children are suffering more than they ever have in this world. People can barely even afford to feed their children. You know, by God, this is why I never really wanted to be a parent, because I just think I had a premonition in me, the type of world that we're living in. If I had a child, I probably would be on edge every single day. And my heart and compassion goes out to any parents out there that are raising children, because every single day they have to worry about their children. Being a parent is probably one of the hardest things that you can possibly be sometimes, especially living in a world that is so unpredictable, that sacrifices so many children. But we don't want to talk about that, right? They care so much about the children, but we are at an all-time high of children getting mixed up into fentanyl and other drugs. Because I knew once they legalized marijuana, I knew once they, and I don't give a fuck who gets mad. This ain't attacking anybody who wants to use marijuana recreationally. It's not about that. But I knew once they legalized marijuana, people that were into harsher drugs were going to start coming behind that and trying to get those drugs in and legalized as well, like cocaine, crack, fentanyl, PCP, or what we call in DC used to call it love boat. Children are getting into all forms of drugs now by accident. Some of it is on purpose. But we love the children so much, right? Why couldn't they have helped Marion Barry's son, when he was a child with his drug problems and drug usage? Why couldn't they help him? My friend Christopher Barry. They had everything at their disposal to help him, but they didn't do that, did they? It truly takes a village to raise a child, so you can't point the blame at just one person. And that person that just sent me that text, I'm gonna get your ass in a fucking minute. Talking about my motherfucking star system, nigga. I'm gonna get your ass in a minute. I'm gonna get your ass for that shit. I didn't know you was gonna rub it in, but I'm gonna get your ass for that. That's a play little thing I got with a friend of mine, you know. But to protect the children, you hear horror stories every day about things happening to children, the things that children are getting into. I shouldn't turn on the TV and see that a 13-year-old is trying to rob a police officer. I shouldn't see that. I shouldn't be hearing about 13-year-olds being murdered because they're out in the streets all hours of the night. Where are your parents? That's my question. Where are your parents? And then when outside entities do try to step in, they don't make the problems better, they make them worse. Then they send us to public schools that don't really educate us. They entrap us in a series of mind control to keep us as slaves. And then they vilify parents who want to homeschool their children. I don't blame parents for wanting to homeschool their children. They're probably a lot safer at home than going into those educational institutions. School really traumatized me. Junior high, high school traumatized me. Being around a bunch of interesting teenagers that I was not used to being around. I wasn't used to being around dudes my age who've done time in jail, who are having problems with the law. I wasn't used to being around those types of people, men and women. But they claimed they were trying to save the children. Well, why didn't you save the children of Generation X? Because that's where it should have started. Now you claim you have all of these opportunities for children now and young adults now, but you failed Generation X, whom are the parents of a lot of these younger Gen Zs that are coming up now. I think that's what they are, Gen Zs. And I'm talking about these governmental entities who keep claiming that they want to save and make things better for the children, but every time they put their hands on something, it does not make things better, it makes it worse. Look at what they do to children in Hollywood. Should I go down the list? Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe, Mickey Rooney, who was having a sexual relationship with Norma Shearer. He was, I believe, 15 or 16, and she was 25 or 26. Make it make sense? Raven Simone, you can tell she's real messed up. Orlando Brown, Maya Campbell. Who else? Um, who else? Who else? Corey Feldman. And what's the Corey? I think it's Corey. Let me see. Corey Haim. What's that other young guy's name that a lot of people don't even know he's dead, probably, but he's dead. He committed suicide. I wonder why. He played in The Greatest Story Ever Told, blonde hair guy. The Greatest Story Ever Told. According to Wikipedia, the greatest. No, that's not it. What's the name of that movie with that? Is it amazing? Is it Amazing Story? Amazing Story. Let me see if that's it. What's that movie where it's a big white dog? I should know the name of that. The Greatest Story Ever Told. I can't think of the name of it. Sequest. He played on Sequest as well. Here he is. This is him right here. Jonathan Brandis. Jonathan Brandis. He died in 2003. He was only 27. And if I'm not mistaken, he committed suicide. That's if he actually committed suicide. Should we keep going and talk about how this institution of governmental energies, Hollywood energies, has destroyed the lives of so many children, especially Generation X? But now all of a sudden, you all want to save the children? Or is that just another trap or an entrapment? Because what I notice a lot of times, what they'll do is they will put up a presentation, make it look good. They will give you, like for example, if you go to let's say you go to a dinner party, you go there, all of the food looks good. Let me give you another example. No, in Hellraiser Bloodline, the magician Delil He was a dark occultist and a magician. His name was Delil. And what he did was he invited this young innocent girl to his home to eat, but she didn't know that they were really trying to sacrifice him and his assistant. I'm sorry. The, Delil's assistant and himself, Delil, were trying to sacrifice this young woman. She didn't know it. He had a feast on the table, but when she began to eat it, she started seeing worms and decay all on the ham. She saw maggots and worms and decay. It looked like a beautiful spread of food, a buffet at first. But then she realized that it was decay and worms and maggots that she was really ingesting in rotten food. And that is how I feel about this so called new agenda to save the children, because it's never worked. It's always been an agenda to attach to it. You know what, back then, when they were talking about saving the children, they wanted all children, no, I'm sorry, not all. They wanted to label certain children as having ADHD or being special ed or being in a certain on a certain spectrum, even if they weren't. Especially a lot of black kids, but they did it to white kids too, and they did it to Hispanic children as well. It is not about skin color. It's about DNA and genetics and where you come from in the universe. Because all of us don't come from this part of the universe. But that's a whole nother video. But they don't want us to talk about that. Anyway, I just wanted to vent about that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to discuss. Why are they trying to ice Quad out of Married to Medicine? I know a lot of people don't like Quad, but if Quad was not on the show's going to be quite boring. You got rid of Mariah. Now you're going to get rid of Quad? They want to ice Quad out? And I know a lot of people don't like Quad. They call her fake or whatever the case may be, but Quad is good TV. I'm just asking a question. You mean to tell me you going to ice Quad out for Sweet Tea, who said that the inside of her vagina looked like macaroni and cheese? That's who you want to ice Quad out for? And see, the people who really need to be labeled as certain things, they don't get labeled. You let unstable people, that's the problem in this world. They let unstable people make decisions for everybody. It's like they want everyone to accept responsibility for everything, but they don't want to be held accountable for nothing. You got men now who don't even want to date. I'm talking about heterosexual men. They don't even want to date real women anymore. They want to date women who look like children, because that's what's being promoted now. It's being promoted in pornography, it's being promoted in social media. They don't want full grown women with, as they call saggy tits and big breast. They don't even want women to have breast anymore. You see the agenda on some of the housewives. For example, Candace, I'm not even going to get into that. They don't want women to have breast anymore. They want women to look like children. But that's been going on for a while. While they're telling people they're trying to save the children, while they're trying to exploit children on a subconscious level. Men don't even want grown women anymore. Hell, men don't even want grown men anymore. Black men didn't used to get down with stuff like that, but I see now they drinking the Kool-Aid too, some of them. Not all of them, some of them. The world is so angry. People don't even enjoy sex anymore. Everybody is all, you know what I noticed? People, if you're wondering why there is, let me just say this to people. If you're wondering why there is, if you're out there dating and you're trying to find, a good time or companionship, if you're wondering why it is so hard, no matter what your gender is or race or your sexual orientation, if you're wondering why it is so hard to find a decent mate, to whether it's just you want to have a casual adult relationship or a intimate relationship or a full-fledged relationship, whatever you're looking for, you know why the world is so angry right now? Because so many people are looking to be predators. They're not looking for sex anymore. They're not looking for normal sex or intimacy anymore. They're looking for predatory ways to get at people. Everyone is so angry. Everyone is in war mode in their minds. There is no loving. People just don't seem to have any interest, it seems like. Maybe not all people, of course, but it just doesn't seem like people are invested in love and sex and intimacy anymore. They're all invested in war, tearing people down, stealing, scamming, harming people, killing people, destroying people. That is what gets people off now. You hear it in the music, you see it in the movies, and the dumbed down public, we're falling for it. Not me and not people that watch me, but people in general are falling for it. And if you're not a follower, you are a threat to their agenda. If you question it, you're a threat. That's why YouTube will not allow me to monetize this channel, which I don't really give a fuck about. It's okay. That is why they suppress views and blacklist channels. Mine is one of them. And that's okay. We know what's up because they don't like people talking like this. They would rather for me to talk like Tasha K. They would rather for me to talk like, I guess Saucy Santana. They would rather for me talk like T.S. Madison and be part of the agenda and not part of the difference. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, T.S. Madison is bragging about still getting residual checks from that movie that she played in that flopped, Bros, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, but over time, the same thing that you're bragging about is going to be the same thing that's going to make you regret that you were bragging about because residual checks, they dry up after a while. Ask the people from Good Times. Ask Billy Porter. You may be getting residual checks now. You may be getting them now. But baby girl, those things run out eventually. And the same people that you were bragging to about that are going to be the same people that you're going to probably have to go to for upliftment. Just like this woman that I know, and I'm not going to get into too many details about it. She's having a lot of problems because people have thrown work at her. It's somebody to live in my neighborhood that y'all know I cussed out a long time ago. Somebody been throwing work at her. It wasn't me, I promise. It wasn't me. I don't do things like that. I'm an angel. I'm a saint child. But anyway, somebody been throwing dark work at her. Dark magic. hmm And the very people that she was talking about are the very people that she's running to crying, talking about. It just seems like her life is falling apart. Her husband didn't have a stroke. Well, that ain't really her husband, as a boyfriend. He didn't have a stroke. The boyfriend that she lived with, somebody stabbed up her son. And so many horrible things have been happening in her life. And the thing about people like her, and I told you I was going to be all over the place. The thing about people like her, do they ever sit back and say, what did I do? to make this happen? Did I wrong somebody? If I wronged somebody, let me go and make things right with that person. See, they don't take, see, people like that don't take responsibility for anything, but they want you to take responsibility for everything. And that is why now, because of bitches like her, that is why now we have all of these fake movements to try to save children when in actuality they're not trying to save children. They're trying to extend the exploitation of children while pitting adults against each other, telling us, oh, you shouldn't be attracted to that person. Oh, you shouldn't like that person because they're fat. You shouldn't like that person because, their breasts sag. You shouldn't like that person because their ass is not big enough. You shouldn't like that person because their titties are not like apples. You shouldn't like this crazy insanity. That person has a gap in their tooth. You shouldn't like that person. Just insanity. All the while, they're trying to make the world a better place for children, right? Anyway, that's all I have to say. This is the occult view, and have a good day.